Today I was thinking of talking something about free will, or basically the paradox of free will or theological fatalism. So, we all know what free will is, right? I mean, I want to do this, I'm doing this, I want to build this, or I want to become this, and I'm becoming, I want to be good, I'll be good. But what the paradox says is omniscience and free will. These are the two properties that generally we believe in, the existence of God and we have free will. So both can't exist together. Let me explain you. Omniscience means he who knows everything, right? So if God is the one who knows everything, what I'll do, or if I'll become good or bad as a person, or if I build this or if I achieve this, if it's known to him, then I don't have free will. And if I have free will, then he's not omniscient. He doesn't know anything. I mean, like everything basically. So it's quite a big paradox from or a complicated paradox from a long time, and that rises to predestination. Whether your destiny is predestined, I mean, like God knows what your destiny is. If that's the case, then you don't have free will. You don't have any choices. This is meant to happen, and this will happen. So going back to I mean, like I used to think about it a lot, even before discovering that something like this exists. And I even consulted a few spiritual gurus maybe, and according to them it's like God has something to say on it. I mean, like, let's say this is something that you will become, but the courses of actions that will define, that's on your hand, I guess. That's your free will, I guess. So that's a theory. I mean, like, it's a mix and match of both. I mean, like, God knows the major things or major decisions of your life, but you get to choose the minor ones, which ultimately leads to the major one. Going back to physics. So there's this theory called theory of relativity. I think most of you are aware of. It's by Einstein, and it's one of his most prominent works. So what it suggests is every action or every movement is relative. I mean, like, when you're traveling on a train and a nearby train passes out parallel to your train, I mean, like in the same direction, then you see the speed of the train to be reduced by a factor of the speed of your train. The same if it happens on opposite direction, it gets mixed. I mean, like, the speed of your train combined with the speed of the coming train is what you see or what you observe. So the conclusion that relativity gets into is time slows for moving objects. There are a few experiments, and it's physically experimented as well. Due to movement, I mean, like, you approach higher speeds, then time for those bodies generally tend to change. So based on that, there is a famous paradox. There are a lot of paradox based on this theories. So one of them is the Tachyon murder case. So this is something that's related to free will, that specifies that free will is testable. So what happens in a Tachyon murder case is you need to have tachyon first. It's a hypothetical. I mean, like, as of now we haven't discovered something called tachyon. Tachyon is basically a particle that can travel faster than the speed of light. So it's possible relativity allows particles to travel faster than light. You may ask that how can something be faster than light if it doesn't go through the speed of light at some point of time? Yes, there can be, if they are born on light super speed or super light speed. If the initial speed in itself is faster than light. So what it says is, you get a tachyon bullet. Let's say an example. It's taken from this book called The Physics of Time. The name of the book is Now, The Physics of Time by Richard Muller. You can get into it if you are interested in learning more about time and what exactly now is and what time is, understanding a few concepts. It's really a good book. So yeah, the example says that let's consider two people. One is John and the other one is Mary. So both are standing at a distance of 40 feet, and John has this tachyon bullet with him. So the tachyon and the speed of the tachyon bullet is 4 times the light speed. So it boils down to like 10 nanoseconds it will take, I guess, for the bullet to reach Mary, because the speed comes to be around 1 foot per nanosecond, and they're standing at a distance of 40 nanoseconds. So when John fires, so within 10 nanoseconds, Mary is instantly dead. So what happens next is John is taken to the court for testifying that he killed Mary, but John argues with a possible scenario that he gets to choose whichever frame of reference that he wants to prove his point. So what he takes is, because if it's a crime, it should be valid in all frames of references. By the way, frames of references means something from which you see. I mean, like we took the example of two trains, right? So the train from which you see the speed to be doubled or halved. So that's your frame of reference. But when a standing guy in the ground, a person standing in the ground, it's the same speed that the train has. So it's relative. So the frame of references make the speed actually. I mean, like tells you the actual speed of moving objects. So what happens is John tends to choose a frame of reference that's moving at half the speed of light speed. So based on the calculations, you can find the calculations in the same book that I said, the mathematical calculations as well. So based on calculations, what the outcome is, the time taken for the bullet to reach Mary or to hit Mary is minus 15.5 nanoseconds. So minus means it's reversing the order of events, and that's generally not the case. I mean, like when you are with a frame of reference when you're dealing with a particle which travels at within the speed of light, it generally doesn't happen. The time gets reduced or time gets increased, but generally the order of events doesn't alter or doesn't switch. So this is the case when the order reverses. I mean, like after the bullet hits Mary, after 15.5 nanoseconds, the bullet is triggered from the gun that John is holding. So it's a little counterintuitive, I guess, but that's the case. But yeah, the good news is we haven't found Tachyon yet. There were some implications that we have found. CERN published a note on the media in 2011 that they have discovered some particle called Tachyon that's faster than light speed. But last year, I guess, or 2014 or 15, they again said that that was an electronic mistake. So if at any point of time we find tachyons, then it means that something like this will have happened definitely. And how do you explain a situation like this? I mean, like someone dying before you're pulling the trigger. So one possible solution or resolution to this kind of situation is we don't have free will. If the bullet hits Mary or the other person, then you are bound. You're bound to shoot, or you're bound to pull the trigger. You don't have any other choice. You don't have the choice of not pulling the trigger. So that's the only case, or that's one possible resolution for this kind of situation. And if someday tachyons are discovered, then that will mean that free will might not just exist. And that will be a bad news, because we always keep on living and have our beliefs that free will do exist. Then it will be just like I am just a set of complicated molecules responding to local pushes and shoves. So that will be the case. So it's quite fascinating and interesting. So I am digging something into mythology as well, something that would relate to it. Maybe if I find some relevance, I'll share in the further videos. Meanwhile, thank you guys.